So, once upon a time, there was this amazing linen shop in Italy called Mani di Fata. They were the go-to place to obtain linen of such fine quality. It was, I think, the closest today that we could come to a historical quality linen. So imagine my distraughtness and dismay when I went to the Mani di Fata website and there was nothing. All the links that we'd saved in our archives led to a homeware site that did not sell linen. I did some research. I was like, does anyone know what's happening with this website? Where did it go? It had simply disappeared off the face of the earth. So I went a little bit insane and I decided that I was gonna find the next source of linen. We searched around, we made up a spreadsheet of all the linen suppliers that we could find, with the caveat that they had to ship to the UK. And we decided that we're gonna compare all of these linen swatches and we are going to find the one true linen to rule them all. I don't think we're gonna find one true. We're gonna find a couple of different options. So how big of a deal is this if your linen is historical quality or a modern weave? For most cases, modern linen is perfectly sufficient for costumes, for things that you're not gonna be washing and wearing a whole lot. However, if you are making a historical garment for the purposes of reenactment, something that's going to receive a lot of wear, especially the undergarments, the shirts, the shifts, the smocks, that are sitting next to the skin, that are having a lot of wear against the body and are absorbing the skin layer, the dirt layer of the body, if this is something that you're going to be wearing and washing and using a lot, you're going to need a really durable, hard-wearing linen. Otherwise, if you make your shifts out of a modern linen, you're gonna end up with a fabric that does this after 2 to 3 years. This fabric is so thin, it is so worn, the yarns of the fabric are literally disintegrating because they are not tightly spun enough. We need to be looking for the quality of linens that were made, produced, and used 100+ years ago. Because 100+ years ago is when clothing was more expensive, our wardrobes were a lot smaller, and therefore we had to make our clothes last as long as possible. Prior to the Industrial Revolution, when things started to be more mass-produced, clothing, fabrics, construction, weaving, spinning was all done with durability in mind. This isn't going to be the one true declaration of the best linen, objectively, of all time, because there are uses for all sorts of linens, especially when you get into fashion purposes, to decorative purposes. There is going to be a difference in quality between the workwear class, highly durable garments versus the shifts and smocks and undergarments worn by a class of nobility, of royalty, or even into the middler classes. So there is a spectrum of quality of linen, even historically. But even within that spectrum, there's still going to be certain qualities of the yarn, certain densenesses and finenesses of weave that are going to set historical linens apart from modern linens.
So what do we mean when we say historical or good quality linen? Well, I have an original shift here. This is said by the seller to have been made in a convent by and for nuns to wear. So we're looking at 18th/early 19th century linen here. It's entirely hand sewn, so spun, woven, processed, made by hand. So as we can see, this is a prime example of really good historical quality linen. So the main points that we're going to be looking at is we're going to be looking at thickness/fineness of the yarns, that is the threads that are making up the weave of the fabric. And we're going to be looking at how dense the weave is, so how tightly packed these yarns are together. So the yarns are relatively even, which is great. The yarns are really fine. They're really small yarns here. And most importantly, they're really densely packed. As we can see, the linen isn't perfectly even because, again, these are spun by hand. Slubs are any really thick bits that haven't been spun to the same equal thinness as the rest of the length of yarn. A lot of modern fabrics tend to include slubs as decorative elements or texture in the fabric. That, historically, is an indication of really poor spinning quality because the slubs mean that there isn't as much twist in the yarn. And so therefore, it is a weak point in the fabric. And so historically, we are trying to avoid slubs wherever possible. That all being said, we'll keep our historical linen here for comparison. And now let's see what we've got.
We had to buy a lot of swatches and yardage for this video, so allow me to take a moment to thank our enabler, sponsor for this video, June's Journey, who are currently running an Agatha Christie themed experience that I think you guys might love. June's Journey is a thrilling hidden objects mystery game that not only tests your observation skills by allowing you to hunt for clues through dozens of gorgeously illustrated scenes, but it also has a storyline. So as you play through scenes and collect clues, the narrative of June's story unfolds. Except this time, she's teamed up with legendary detective Hercule Poirot. Hercule Poirot. For those of you Americans out there. Hercules, it's like Benedict Cumberbatch, but like Hercules Poirot, like everyone knows what you need. To bring us new stories and cases based on Agatha Christie classics like Murder on the Orient Express and Death on the Nile, as well as exclusive in-game rewards and decorations. I've loved Agatha Christie novels for pretty much as long as I can remember, so this to me is like the crossover of a century. You can download June's Journey by clicking on the link down in the description box below or by scanning the QR code on screen. And now, I do believe I'm spying some linen swatches working their way into our post room.
So first up, we have the Renaissance linen by Ecclesiastical Sewing. This is a much finer linen than what is being used for the shift, but that's not a bad thing. This just would have been used for perhaps more upper class, refined shift. But I think the fineness of the yarns is really great. Not too many slubs. And we've got a fairly dense weave. It could be denser, but this is a pretty good option. I'm gonna put this in highly passable. Next, we have the Ecclesiastical Sewing Opalescent linen. Once again, fineness of the yarn is really good, but it is a slightly looser weave. This probably wouldn't be the worst if you're trying to do like decorative headpieces or fichus or something that requires a very fine linen, but the denseness of the weave is gonna mark this down just a little bit. Next, we have the Ecclesiastical Sewing Radiance linen. Immediately, we can see that the yarns here are really thick and the weave is really loose. There is quite a lot of space coming through each of these overlaps here. I'm gonna give this an absolutely not. Here we have got the Organic Textile Co. white linen. We're gonna see a lot of linens that look like this. We can see immediately we've got some really significant slubs that probably would have been frowned upon historically. We have got a slightly on the looser end weave and not in a fine way because these yarns are quite thick. But again, it's not the worst linen we've seen, so I'm gonna put this in fine. We have the St. Martha's Guild church linen. I think there is a lot of tradition in the weaving styles and in the dress requirements of Christian ecclesiastical religious wear that requires them to sort of mimic the practices that existed historically. So we're gonna, I think, have a lot of luck with these. True to form, this is a really good quality linen. The yarns are really fine. I think they're actually even a little bit finer than the historical linen that we have here. The weave is pretty dense. It's slightly lighter weight, but that's fine. So I'm gonna put this in highly passable. Next, we have an Irish handkerchief weight linen from B&J. Handkerchief weight is too light for smocks and shirts. We're looking for hard wearing because these are garments that are going to be washed and really heavily worn. However, the yarns are really finely spun. So this probably would be passable for something, again, like headwear or a fichu, but not for shifts and smocks. So I'm going to put this in fine. The Belgium mid-weight linen from B&J. I'm going to put this in absolutely not. An Imperial lightweight linen from B&J. It's not the worst linen. I'm gonna put this in fine. The Irish midweight linen from B&J. This is a beautiful linen. This is stunning. We've got really fine yarns here. We have got a little bit of slubbage that is, you know, slightly significant, but you know what? It's not the worst. We've got a nice dense weave here. This is a really fine lightweight linen, so it is much finer than our historical example here. However, again, for like a nicer quality, perhaps more upper class shift, this is gonna be a pretty good option. So I'm gonna put this in highly passable. Next, we have the Zula linen from Whaley's. This is once again going to be a very fine linen, but in regards to use for historical quality, this is gonna be a pretty good option. The linen Harlow from Whaley's, this linen is going to be not quite so durable. I probably wouldn't use this for a historical shift. The Novell linen, as we can see, really thick yarns here, really loose weave here. This is gonna be an absolutely not. We have the red edge linen from Whaley's. I am a frequent purchaser of the red edge, as are quite a lot of costume houses. The yarns are mid to fine weight, but the weave on this is really dense. They're really opaque. There's not too much noticeable slubbage. This is a really great linen if you're looking to make the sort of durable workwear quality that the historical example is providing here. I'm gonna put this in a highly passable. We have a traditional linen from Croft Mill. This is just not going to be the strongest linen, but it's not the worst linen. Anita Pavini linen 2. This is slubbier than the last one. It is slightly looser woven than the last one. I just don't think this one is going to be quite worth it. Also from Anita Pavini, we have the Doro Oyster. This does have a much denser weave. This linen sample actually really closely matches the historical example. It is slightly lighter weight. I'm gonna put this in a low, highly passable. The weave is still quite a bit looser than I would like, but it's not the worst option. Still from Anita Pavini, we have the Bio Linen 2. Yarns are on the finer side. Once again, it is a bit drapier than our comparison linen here, but the weave is on the denser side. Again, it's not as dense as I perhaps would like it to be, but it's not the worst option. I'm gonna also put this in a low, highly passable. Anita Pavini, this linen, it's actually a really decent linen. The yarns on this are a lot finer. The weave is, again, on the looser side, but not offensively loose. This, I think, again, would be for much finer shifts, but I think it's on the passable side. Baltic Flex, not the best. Also from Baltic Flex, I'm gonna put this in a light, absolutely not. Shirt/shift weight linen from Burnley and Trowbridge have got a decently dense weave, but it is still on the looser side. They're medium weight linen. This one is significantly less historical quality than the previous one. It is lower end of fine. From John Hanna, we are probably going to be seeing a lot of John Hanna because they have a lot of linen. We have a medium-ish weight yarn. We've got a little bit of slubbage here, but a fairly dense weave. This isn't the greatest linen, but it's not, again, the worst quality. This is gonna be an upper end of fine. We have the Glebe linen from John Hanna. Got some significant slubbage here. The weave is probably about the same, but we've definitely got thicker yarns here. This one is going to be a solid fine.
I've discovered I think my favorite is John Hanna now for a range of things in affordable prices.
Yeah. Their Kells linen has much finer yarns. However, we've also got a slightly looser weave here. But again, this is going to be for really fine linen sewing. We're not going to be making durable shifts and smocks out of this. From Stragier, I don't even know how to rank the yarn spinning in this because the slubs are like really heavyweight and the rest of the yarns are really actually quite fine weight. Yeah, we've got quite a bit of gappage there. So this one is gonna be put in a no for me, dog. From Ray Stitch, we've got the European washed linen. This is, once again, absolute standard modern weight linen. Fine. From Ada and Ina, we have the Cecilia white linen. The yarns on this one are pretty mid-weight. The weaving quality on this is really loose though. I'm not sure that I would trust this one necessarily to hold up for significant work, wash, and wear. From Ada and Ina, we have their Met linen. This is automatically gonna be a big no. I mean, the weave is just almost non-existent. Also from Ada and Ina, we have their Anne white. We've got a really thick, chunky yarn quality here. We've also got a pretty loose weave on this one as well. I'm gonna put this on the line between fine and no. We've got a B off-white linen. This one is a much denser weave than we have previously, so this isn't the worst linen, but it wouldn't be my top choice. Also from Stragier, we have a much finer quality of yarn spinning here. This, again, might be fine for a fichu or something that's not really necessarily getting a whole lot of wear. Also from Stragier, this one is a lot cleaner and a lot less slubby than the last one, which does make it a better, slightly better contender, but again, looseness of the weave is gonna really detract from the durability of this, but still solidly in the lower fine category. From Stragier, we got this number here. This is actually not the worst. The yarns are really, really fine on this. We have got a bit of slubbage in here, but you know, it's not the worst. This would be a really fine linen though. I would say like headwear, cuffs, ruffs, decorative linens, but definitely a high historical contender. Just caveat, not for shifts and smocks and shirts. We have the Glen Arm from John Hanna. This is a pretty mid to heavyweight quality of yarn here with a mid to on the slightly denser side of the weave. This is gonna be a solid fine. This is from Sartor. This is the linen that came very highly recommended amongst reenactors, and as we can see, the quality of the yarns, this is very, very much on the larger side. The weave is on the looser side. We don't have too much slubbage, which is great, but this really, really does have to be kind of on the lower end of fine for me. From Golden Hind, we have their church linen. Again, the more sort of ecclesiastical themed linens here. The yarns are really fine. The weave is on the denser side. Again, this is probably going to be for a more upper class garment. However, it's probably going to get some good wear out of it. Highly passable. From Stove Creation on Etsy, we've got some fairly thick yarns here. We've got a pretty loose weave here. I'm gonna put this in fine. Fine. From the Tudor Tailor, we have their bleached linen. This, again, is probably fine for headwear, for lighter weight linen work, but is probably not going to be ideal for shifts, shirts, and smocks.
Sold by the half yard. What's 1950 times 2?
21. No, not 41.
Yes, that's correct. It's 41 pounds a meter.
The Bangor linen from John Hanna. This is really a decent contender here. Yarns are pretty thin. We've got a slightly loose weave, and we have got some pretty significant slubbage. I'm gonna put this, again, on the border between highly passable and fine. From Zweitgart, we've got the Edinburgh linen. This is not gonna be useful for most linen garment construction purposes. The Kingston linen, this is a much better quality linen. The yarns on this are super fine. I'm gonna put this on the upper edge of fine.
And guess what we made to the last one?
Yeah! Finally, from John Hanna, we have the Drumbeg linen.
Better not be a fine.
This is going to be a solid fine.
No! So I guess, which one is the best? It depends on the purpose. For durable workwear, and especially for making like buckrams and for using linens as stiffenings, I think the Whaley's Red Edge is gonna be my favorite. For like durable heavyweight linen, like this is what I would make that nun's shift out of today. In terms of fine linens, St. Martha's Guild church linen is really good. The Golden Hind church linen, again, these ecclesiastical linens are really good. These are not all the most expensive, but you know, mid to upper tier. Everything like from here over is like really passable. Red Edge is the cheapest of these, which is good to note. In terms of quality for value, I think we have to give John Hanna the award there, because we got like a 14-pound linen, we got a 13-pound linen, we got a 14-pound, and these are all like pretty good for fine, you know, upper class quality smocks, headwear, for veils. The foil is slightly heavier, so like if you're going for a more smock weight, I think I would go for this one. But the evenness of the yarns on this one is much better. Yeah, like they all have different qualities. These are slightly denser than like this one. So I would do shirts or smocks out of this one over this one. I mean, like anything from kind of here over is gonna get you a pretty decent quality item. But yeah, this was a really interesting experiment. I hope this has perhaps informed your future linen purchasing. And if you have some other linen sources near you that perhaps ship to your country, or if you go to a physical fabric shop, perhaps you can apply some of this knowledge to those linens and see if it's going to be a linen that is really going to hold up, really going to provide the durability to your historical or modern linen projects. And thank you once again to June's Journey for sponsoring this video. More information down in the description below. So with that, good luck with your future linen hunting and your linen crafting.